All right, we are out here at Fowler Park since we are now down to 2 of our 3 test flight facilities since we got kicked out of our one closest to our workshop or office. Nonetheless, we have the newest version of World's iVue and the iVue RC app, our dev preview version. This should be the last test flight session we have, or one of the last test flight sessions that we have before we push the newest version into production. So the publicly available version for everyone to use that should be tried and true, tested to the degree it needs to be, should be available here in the next week. So in any case, let's get to it and we'll test all the bug fixes and updates we have to show today. We'll get the radio plugged in before we set out the develop air, as much as I always like to do that first. It is always better to have the radio connected, just in the off chance that the develop air catches a rogue signal from the correct or not correct atmospheric conditions. And no sound effect. Can we go all the way? You know, still have to call out not making the sound effect. Not that good. One of these days I'll be better. And one thing I didn't take note of in our last video, but it was there, like the Develop Air micro video we last published, and it was probably there beforehand as well. We have the ability to see the altitude now, although I think there's some issue with that properly reporting. So you can see we're at like -1 feet, which doesn't really quite make sense. And this, I think, caused an issue as seen in our last video with the Develop Air Micro doing a Waypoint mission, where we told Develop Air Micro to go up to 15 feet, but it was already, let's say, 10 feet off the ground, and it seemed like it went up to 25 feet instead of just up an additional 5 feet. So we talked about that in a meeting we had last night, but nonetheless, it is still to be fixed, more likely than not. The first thing that we will go ahead and test out is the Waypoint mission. So after creating a Waypoint mission and you want to create another Waypoint mission, the previous Waypoint mission should clear from the map, and so you shouldn't be confused, and it should just look a lot better, a lot cleaner than what it did previously when I last showed off doing 2 missions in 1 test flight session. So we will have it fly away from us towards that light pole, just trying to help our camera operator Brian know where it's going. 15 feet, and then we'll have it fly towards that goal over there, an altitude of about 20 feet or 20 feet, although about is actually probably more accurate than saying 20 feet as if it were exact. And we'll have it go down to 15 feet, right? Yeah, 20 feet, 15 feet. And we'll bring it back home with the controller, land it, and then create and upload another mission and verify that UI responds as it should, or the UI responds as it should. All right, the next update that we have to show off here is once we upload the mission to Develop Air, now we can go to drone commands, and so instead of having to make 2 or 3 clicks to get back to this screen, just 1 click and you're now ready to start the Waypoint mission. So should it work properly? There is never any doubt in my mind. All right, so we can see Develop Air created the Waypoint mission, properly traced it on the map. If you want to point it back over at me really quick. So I was also able to verify, looking at the UI on the map, that Develop Air is actually making the orange line behind it as it's actually flying. So if it does deviate from the white line, it's going to show that deviation. And now what we are working on, so now you can see the mission disappears. If I continue flying Develop Air, there's no way to see where it was previously flying via an orange line. And so we are updating that just coming in the next update. So not before you see these updates in the production version, but the next update after 1.6. So if you want to switch back over to Develop Air, I'm going to fly it back over here, and then we'll start a new mission. And you can see in the iVue RC app, a little bit of a heavy-handed landing. All right, so it is still showing that Develop Air is armed, so it's showing disarmed in flight. After selecting Start Waypoint Mission, that was, I guess, a partially fixed bug where the arm disarm button was flashing back and forth and not actually working in the last update that we pushed to this preview or development version of the iVue RC app. But it looks like it's still not working 100% in the way that it's supposed to, because right now it should say arm drone now that Develop Air is on the ground disarmed, as seen by not being able to use the throttle stick to take off. Now let me just see if I can actually use the arm button even though it says disarm. So I just pressed it, and let's see if I could take off. So no, I cannot take off. So let's see now that if the button is reset, if I select arm, it allows me to take off. All right, it looks like it'll allow me to take off. So it looks like there is a very, very minor bug, but a bug nonetheless that does need to be fixed. And let's see. All right, now the disarm button did work. So if I were to just keep using the throttle stick down to disarm Develop Air, I would have to hold it for about 10 seconds or so before I hear the disarm beep, where I was able to cut that down to a second or two just by using the on-screen button. So by and large, again, that update is now working, but there is still a minor bug that needs to be addressed, which will be addressed prior to this version 1.6 going live into the production version. All right, nonetheless, we already verified that the mission went away before creating another Waypoint mission, but just to go ahead and delete this one, and we can create another one. So it looks like we don't even need to fly it, but we'll verify that the return to land, or at least land at the end of the Waypoint mission works, but or return to launch, or land at the end waypoint works. And to that end, we will have it return to launch, and let's see how close it can get back to me via an automated landing without landing on me or the table. And we'll just fly it at an altitude of 10 feet the entire time. Other than the return to launch, that will have it climb up to what should be about 150 feet. Set to 150 feet, but again, just knowing the real world, about 150 feet. Knowing the real world, like I know so much, right? I don't want to hit Brian, our camera operator, so I'm going to move the waypoints just a little bit, and I'll have it fly more of a straight line, and then make a little hook back towards us. Yeah, not the way it's facing, just in the way that it's programmed on the screen, which still isn't a straight line. It's not. It's a gay line. Go to drone commands. All right, and I want to verify, just didn't 100%, yep, the mission uploaded. Start waypoint mission. All right. Oh, and one other thing, you can see the waypoints turning from blue to green once the segment has been completed. So that's another update that's been made that I guess I should mention if you didn't already take note of it. Nothing that's too core to the functionality, but, and did I not hit land at the end of the waypoint mission? Let me see. That could have been a user error. I did, yeah. Let me re-upload that. So land, return to takeoff, that's what I meant to say. I know words and my actions reflect my words, people. All right, upload mission to drone. And then this is where we're going to see, more likely than not, the altitude problem that I was talking about we previously saw with the developer micro. So let's go back to drone commands, and we'll see once I start the waypoint mission with it already in flight, it should theoretically stay at the same altitude or roughly the same altitude, but I bet it's going to climb up another 10 feet. And if you can actually see here, even though the altitude was set to 10 feet, it's probably a little higher than 6 feet off the ground, maybe 7, 8 feet now. And as indicated here in the iVue RC app, it's still not even left the ground and a little bit under the ground. Not 6 feet under, right? Not broken in pieces. But yeah, starting the waypoint mission, it did climb up 10 feet. But it does go back to the first waypoint as set from where it started, and then it goes back and completes the mission. And then now it should climb up and return to home. And it should climb up and return to home. And it should climb up. So this is why we do testing, even beyond just the updates that were made that were supposed to be tested. We go above and beyond because, as I mentioned now multiple times, it was supposed to rise up and come land back home. Let me take it off and manually set it to RTL mode to show what it was supposed to do at the end of the mission when I selected the return to takeoff option. So what the developer did instead is, if I were to have selected the land drone at end, is what it did. Instead of return to takeoff, it should have landed right about where it took off originally before it completed the first mission, where I forgot to set either option. But as you could tell, it didn't actually listen to what I told it to do. Silly drone. All right, going back. Guess who's back? All right. Like I said, we'll set it into loiter mode, resetting the arm button that should reset itself. I just selected arm, so now I should be able to take it off with the controller, just like so. And then let's see if I select, oh, RTL is now there, so it's not going to do exactly what I wanted. Poop. Let me fly it, and then I will show you it returning back to that point, even though I want it to come back here to end the video. So now I select RTL. It should climb up to 150 feet. Nope. It's returning as it should, just not with the right altitude. And so we don't have the ability to change the RTL altitude in the iVue RC app. That's probably something that we should just add in as a very quick update. Otherwise, that's a parameter that we set upon original configuration of Develop Air. Before it actually lands, I'm taking it over. I just took it over into Loiter flight mode just so I could bring it back over and land it here. Now, I don't think it will let me, but I do want to see what happens if I'm like flying a little bit above the ground and I hit disarm, if it will actually disarm mid-flight. No, okay, so it will not let me disarm in flight. It does return to land, which is odd. And then it climbs up. So it looks like just the RTL altitude has been changed on this Develop Air. I just put it back into Loiter mode to override it. So that's kind of odd that the disarm button works in that way, but I guess it's better than actually disarming, right? So still don't want to accidentally hit disarm, especially if you're nearby and Develop Air goes to return to its landing position and you're in the way. All right, disarmed it with the on-screen UI. And just before we wrap up this video, I want to go to QGroundControl so you can verify that it's just a parameter that you can modify to adjust the RTL altitude that, as set via the iVue RC app, at least when you manually select the RTL button, it works as it should. So disconnecting here from the iVue RC app, opening up QGroundControl, waiting for QGroundControl to open. Parameters, and you can also access it here, which return at specified altitude 225 centimeters, which we typically have it set to like 150 feet, or yeah, 4,572 centimeters. So I am updating that now, and then that will take effect, and in the iVue RC app, the RTL will now be set to that altitude. We will add this to the iVue RC app, so be on the lookout for that, but we are going to use freedom units as the default, not, these communist, metric system centimeters, who wants to use those? That's gross. Nonetheless, I think that's it for this video. Stay on the lookout for our next videos to come, where we have more updates to the iVue RC app, both this development preview version and the production version coming to you, and of course more updates to Develop Air itself, all the models, not just the base model, including the upcoming Develop Air Micro. So thank you for watching, and you'll catch me in the next one. Peace.